Mr. Worry by Roger Hargreaves. Poor Mr. Worry. Whatever happened, he worried about it. If it rained, he worried that his roof was going to leak. If it didn't rain, he worried that all the plants in his garden were going to die. If he went shopping, he worried that the stores would be closed when he got there. And when the stores weren't closed, he worried that he was spending too much money shopping. When he got home, he worried that he left something behind. When he got home and discovered that he hadn't left anything behind, he worried that he bought too much. And then he worried where to put it all. Life was just one big worry for poor Mr. Worry. One day, he went for a walk. He was worried that he might walk too far and not be able to get home. But on the other hand, he was worried that if he didn't walk far enough, he wouldn't get enough exercise. He met Mr. Bump. "I'm very worried about you," he said. "Why?" asked Mr. Bump. "I'm worried that one of these days you might hurt yourself," he said. "Please don't worry about that," said Mr. Bump. And off he went, tripping over his own feet. Mr. Worry went on. He met Mr. Noisy. "I'm very worried about you," he said. "Why?" asked Mr. Noisy. "I'm worried that you might lose your voice," said Mr. Worry. "Please don't worry about that," said Mr. Noisy. And off he went. Clump, clump, clump. Mr. Worry went on. He met Mr. Greedy. "I'm very worried about you," he said. "Why?" asked Mr. Greedy. "I'm worried that you might eat too much and get sick," explained Mr. Worry. "Me?" replied Mr. Greedy. "Eat too much? Impossible!" And off he went to lunch. Mr. Worry went on. He met a wizard. "Hello," said the wizard. "Who are you?" "I'm Mr. Worry." "And you look it," commented the wizard. "Tell you what," he went on, for he was a helpful wizard. "Why don't you go home and write down every single thing that you are worried about, and I'll make sure that none of these things ever happen." He smiled. "And then you won't have anything to worry about, will you?" Mr. Worry smiled. It was the first time he'd smiled in a long time. In fact, it was the first time he'd smiled that year. He hurried home in great excitement. When he got home, he sat down to write out all the things that worried him. Every single thing. It was a long list. Then he went to bed and had the best night's sleep he had in years. The following morning, the wizard came by to get Mr. Worry's list. "My goodness," he said when he saw how long it was. "I'll make sure none of these things ever happen." And off he went. "Nothing to worry about now," he called over his shoulder. "Nothing at all." Mr. Worry, ¿cómo se dice esta palabra? Have a sigh of relief. Es que siempre se me olvida. That day was the first day in Mr. Worry's life that he didn't have a single thing to worry about. and the next day, and the day after, and the day after that. On Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, Saturday, and Sunday, Mr. Worry didn't have a care. But on Monday morning, he was a worried man. What do you think was worrying him? Can you guess? He went to see the wizard. When the wizard saw him standing on his doorstep, he asked Mr. Worry what was worrying him. I'll tell you, said Mr. Worry. I'm worried because I don't have anything to worry about. Then he went home to worry about not having anything to worry about.